So, they gave you a list of things your car needs. Let me show you how to do these things yourself. Let's fix some cars.
Well, as you can see here, I've got a 2016 Lincoln MKX. It's got the 2.7 turbo engine in it, and it's got an oil leak. My wife says it's a Lincoln, it shouldn't be leaking oil. It's a fancy car. She can't be leaking oil. She doesn't care if my Focus leaks oil, but she's got a Lincoln, it leaks oil. We had an oil change done a while back. I was thinking it was the little drain plug. Come to find out it wasn't the drain plug, but it's the actual oil pan itself. They gave me a nice quote of about between $1,100 and $1,200 to fix it. My wife says, "Got to fix it." I said, "Well, let me do this. Show everybody how it can be done. I can do it for a lot less than $1,100. I can do it for pretty much about $100 in parts and a few hours labor." So follow along. I'll show you how we're going to do this on a 2016 Lincoln MKX. Clean up that oil leak. Watch how it's done, and don't forget to subscribe and like. I appreciate it. This is Doc. I'm going to show you how this is done. That's not really that bad of an oil leak, is it? Seriously? Well, it is a Lincoln. I warmed the engine up a little bit, brought it in, and now I've got it up on jack stands. Got cardboard down there to insulate a little bit against the cold, because I'll be laying on that concrete quite a bit. So now that I've got it up in the air, I'm going to turn on my air compressor, get out my tools, and I'll start working on this puppy. Okay, well, here's the undercarriage part. My angles for the camera are kind of tight because I'm low to the ground here. Don't have the luxury of a rack. But anyway, I've got I got this cheap little valve thing out of there. Got that done. That's the one I thought was leaking, but then they said no. And when I got underneath and looked up, which I can't really do now because I got the oil pan right there, it's draining. But I want to let you know you're going to need a 10mm socket with a extension, 6 or 8 inch extension should be good enough. I've got a shield right here. See if I can get the camera to hold steady for a second. And then down here, you can see we've got this shield right down here. There's a shield here, and then there's a shield straight up above too that I might end up having to take. I'm not sure, but these all take the T30. So next thing I'll be doing is I'll be going around to all the T30s, take this thing off, take another look, and decide if I need to take this off. Okay, here's some of the basic tools you're going to need. Switch hands here. It's always good to have an extension. This is a 1/4 inch drive extension. That's a 1/4 inch socket. 1/4 inch drive right there. There's my T30. So that goes in there. And I can also use these. These are pretty handy too. It's a flexible 1/4 inch drive. So sometimes if you don't get a completely straight shot, it helps you to get up in there. This for the 10mm for the oil pan gaskets. And of course you need a ratchet there. I'm going to be using an air ratchet as well, which is kind of noisy, but you might not have one, so that's where you'd want to use this. And then a pair of channel lock pliers or some kind of pliers are pretty good to help pull this thing out. That one bolt that I'm after is right there. Hopefully you can see that. Get the light right on it. But as you can see, this exhaust pipe is in the way, so I tried everything I could. I even tried to use my flex extension, but I still couldn't get it on there. So that's why I ended up having to purchase this thing. So let's see if I can get that to fit on there. Well, hopefully you can see that. I've got the wrench hanging on there. I finally was able to break it loose. So I'm able to. So Murphy's Law hit, I had to go get it, but it works. So now I'm going to try to make sure I got the rest of those bolts out. Once I make sure I've got all the bolts out and loose, I'll try carefully pry down from all different angles, try to get it to pop down. There's no gasket in here. They just use a sealant, special kind of sealant. I'll show you in a little bit. Okay, I've got all the bolts loose, ready to try to pry it down. I want to be real careful because this is kind of like a tough type of plastic. They said that the oil pan is no longer available, so that would suck. Talk about Murphy's Law. So anyway, I've got an assortment here of different types of pry tools, some screwdrivers, I even got a chisel, a little bent screwdriver, and a little tapping hammer. So I'm going to try to set the camera up where you can see what I'm doing. Okay, well here's the view from down below. I can't get the best camera angle. Right along in here is where the gasket is, and I'm going to try to put some screwdrivers in there, tap them in very carefully. And I got to be very careful. And you notice the bolts are still in there. A lot of them they're perfectly loose, but they won't come out. So they must have some kind of rubber seal in there that's kind of keeping them from dropping out. But let me get on to the next setup, and I'll try to show you a couple of shots as I move along. Okay, well, I've got the pan loose. It was real tough to get off. You have to pry it very carefully. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about here. On the other side, almost make it. Once we got the pan off, of course, we're going to have to clean off all this excess sealant that was on there. Got a bunch of it already coming off in chunks and pieces. Just got to spend a lot of time cleaning it up. You want to make sure also that as you're cleaning this off, make sure you clean everything out of it inside the pan. Because if it gets down inside the pan, bits and pieces of that can get sucked up by the screen for the pickup tube for the oil, and it can plug it up and cause you to have a low oil pressure problem. So one thing for sure, both on the bottom of the engine, the mating surface, and on this surface right here, really clean it up good until you feel like it's all nice and smooth. And then we'll put the sealant on it. A little bit of acetone helps to clean up some of the gummy messes we've got. One thing I noticed here that's very important, you really want to pay attention to what's going on here. You do not want to have any high spots. Sometimes you'll have a piece of old gasket material that'll sit behind and it'll be high. I got a spot right here. It's actually part of the plastic. So I want to be careful and make sure that I file that down. It's just on the edge. But here's what happens. If you don't file that down, if you got a little spot on the outside that's a little high, then when you go to button this up, that spot is going to hit the mating surface before the rest of it does, and it's going to be like a little piece of something that's going to cause a gap, and it won't let the rest of it seal up. So you want to make sure that the whole surface fits perfectly flat. You don't want any high spots, otherwise that leaves an air gap. Now you don't want to rush through this. This is a time-consuming thing. You don't want to do this job again, trust me. Okay, well here's what it looks like after the pan is removed. It was a real pain in the butt to remove it. Okay, there's a bracket that comes around here. Later on in the video, you might have seen it earlier on, but later on I'll show you too as I put it back on. But I had to take that bracket out of the way because it had a piece coming down. Let me get you a better shot. The part of the bracket that holds this in place, keeps it steady, was hanging down to about here. Okay, well, while you guys were out having a sandwich and a soda or something like that, I was hard at work cleaning up all these gaskets. So got them all cleaned up now. Next step is I'm going to move a couple things around to make sure they're out of my way, because as I mentioned, the gasket glue or the sealant seals up pretty quick within about 5 to 10 minutes. So once I got it on there, I got to get ready to put it up and put some bolts in it right away before it gets hard on me. Tell you what, working on my wife's car doesn't pay very good, but it did save me about $1,100. I only spent about $100 in parts, and the rest was just labor, but I'm retired, so I got the time. So now I've got it up there, nice and snug. I put the black RTV high temp stuff, put it on the bottom of the motor and also on the gasket surface of the pan, and put it on up there. But I practiced, just to let you know, I practiced 2 or 3 times getting it in and out with everything removed, because once I put the gasket glue on the pan and on the bottom of the motor, I've only got about 10 minutes worth of time before it starts to set up and gel and becomes a problem. And make sure you got your 10mm socket, a little extension, and all the things you need, all the bolts lined up. So once you got it up there, you can put them on fairly quickly. I'm hoping this is focusing okay. I had to remove these nuts and that bolt and another one up above to make this thing come away. I also had to remove this Will you see that or not? Okay, up there. I'm going to put a drain plug in there. The one that came out looked pretty good, but I don't want to trust it. Let's face it, if it starts to leak, I'll be pissed. And then I got to drain out another 5 quarts of oil. That's a waste. So okay, the job is about done. Just got to fill it up with oil here. So pull the oil cap off, and kind of a hard target to hit, so you want to use a funnel of some kind. And then just go slow and easy. And depending on the funnel, it won't go through real quick because it's a little bit on the thick side. So I have to go slow and easy. Oh crap. Oh geez. Just kidding. Remember, I got a new one. Can't fool you guys. Whoops. Whoa. Okay, before I start it up, I want to make sure that everything's okay before I take it down off the jack stand. So here goes. Well, it turned out okay. No leaks. Everything's fine. Checked it for a few days, and still no leaks. So it was successful. I think I gave you an idea of what kind of tools you'd need. I showed you the hand tools. You can use air tools if you have them available, but it can be done with hand tools. I'd say altogether it probably took about 5 hours of my time. Finished it on a Saturday, and I let it sit overnight before I put the oil in it. It's a good idea to let that silicone seal that they use, it's a good idea to let it sit for at least 12 hours, better 24 hours. So if you put oil in too soon, it can get into the silicone seal and soften it up, and it wouldn't seal as well. So it's just a good idea. Anyway, it's all good. Saved me about $1,100. I think I spent about $100 on oil, filter, a new drain plug, and a little bucket, a pan to hold the oil in, which I can use over and over again for future oil changes. So anyway, not so bad. I know on F-150 trucks, sometimes there's a front cross member that you have to remove in order to gain access to it. So it depends on the car. But on the Lincoln, not too bad. Like I said, about 5 hours laying on my back, using hand tools, not having a rack to hoist it up. So I was on my back with very limited area to work with. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it.